Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing us how to sew these 6 pieces blouse together. I already made a video on how to draft it. So in this video, we are going to learn how to sew it together. So here is the blouse. Okay, here's the pieces. I already cut it out. So if you want your own zipper to be at the front, it's totally fine. So if your zipper is going to be at the front, then that means there won't be need for any zipper at the back. Okay, so I'm going to be pinning all these pieces together, and like I said, I'm not using lining, but if you're using lining for yours, just cut out the lining the same way I have cut out the fabric. You cut the lining the same way, so everything I'll be doing to the fabric, you do the same thing on the lining as well. That is if you're going to be using a lining. So right here I'm going to pin the center pieces to the front, to the side pieces. Okay, I'll pin it together, and once I'm done pinning, I'll take it to my sewing machine and then stitch everything together. So I'm just trying to show you guys how to pin it. So when you are pinning, you have excess around the armhole. It's totally fine. We are going to be recutting the armhole once we are done stitching. So I'm done joining all the pieces together, both the front and back. Okay, so what I did after stitching the piece together is to top stitch the stitching allowance, since I'm not using lining, so that my allowance can fold in, can lay in very well. Okay, so what I also did is to also stitch it at the shoulder. I've stitched the shoulder, the front and back shoulder together, as you can see. And another thing I did was to close up the zipper allowance. Okay, I close it up temporarily, which I'm still going to open it up by the time I'm done. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to go and stitch up the side. Now after stitching the side, I'm going to lose the zipper allowance and then stitching the hemming allowance. Okay, so and once that is done, I'm going to be attaching the band to the neckline. So here is my sleeve. It's just a normal simple sleeve, and I added elastic to divide the sleeve into two, but you can add any sleeve of your choice. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to recut our armhole. Remember I said that after stitching you might have excess armhole, so just go ahead and cut out the excess armhole, and then you measure your armhole to be sure that you have your exact armhole measurement. So right here I'm going to be stitching this at the side. I've taken the side seam. You can see that I've chalked the side seam. Now once that is done, I went ahead to lose up the zipper allowance I closed up, and then the next thing is to stitch in the hemming allowance of 1 inch. That is, you fold half an inch twice, then you stitch it down. So once that is done, this is what I have. So the next thing is to stitch in our zipper. Now you need to check that both sides of your zipper allowance are equal. Okay, you don't want to have zippers that are not the same. So here is my collar. I've stitched the two collar together. Remember I said we'll need two. So after stitching together, I went ahead to take one part of the collar. I stitched it around the bottom, which is the side that's going into the neckline. I stitched one part. Now the other part I did not stitch is the part that I'll be stitching into the neckline. You can see the part I did not stitch down by the allowance. Okay, that's the part I'll be stitching into the neckline. This is one of the easiest way to stitch in your collar. So after stitching the zipper, so the next thing is to take your collar and stitch it to the neckline. Now what that means is when you're adding your zip is not going to extend totally. It's not going to extend to the neckline yet. Okay, you need to stitch in your collar before you now extend the zipper to the collar area. So what I'm doing now is to be stitching the collar down to the neckline. Remember the part that I did not stitch by the allowance, that is the part you're going to be stitching into the neckline, and it's going to be facing the right side of your fabric. Now once that is done, you can see my zipper, that the zipper did not extend there. So what I will do is to open up the collar at the top so that I'll be able to pass in my zipper. Okay, so once that has been opened, what I will do now is to stitch the zipper down, and you're going to stitch the zipper up to one part of the collar, as you can see. Then you pass the zipper in between the two collars. Go ahead and close up the collar like this. Okay, then you cut off the excess zip. So after cutting, you have something like this. Okay, your collar should look like this. Okay, so the next thing now is to close up the zipper, okay, using the collar to close up the zipper. Okay, after closing, you are going to cut off the excess allowance you have, and you should have something like this. Once you are done, you can see what the back looks like. Okay, now I'm going to be stitching down the collar. Now that part that we have stitched by the allowance, this is now the part that we are going to be stitching down. So this time around, you are now going to be using it to close up the stitching allowance you have around the neckline. Okay, so when you do it like that, it gives your collar a very neat and nice finish look. So this is the end of the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please consider to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Also share this video so that others can watch and subscribe to my YouTube channel.